Hello and welcome to Obscure Movie Reviews, where we love to take a look at some of the more unknown and ambiguous titles in cinema history. Here we focus on movies that are hard to find, on the older side, relatively unknown, or perhaps they simply lack in popularity. So put on a happy face and get your grin on as we explore The Man Who Laughs. When Gwynplaine, the orphaned son of a nobleman, rescues a blind baby girl, they are taken in by Ursus, a carnival showman. Gwynplaine and the baby girl Dia grow up and join his carnival show. However, due to torturous slavers, Gwynplaine suffers a horrible disfigurement and has a grotesque smile permanently across his face. Dia, however, is blind and completely unaware of his disfigurement, and is completely enamored with Gwynplaine. He's convinced that Dia would never truly love him if she could see his face. Before long, Gwynplaine is pulled into a wicked conspiracy by the English nobility when his identity as an English lord's son is discovered. Will love conquer all? This movie is heartbreaking. This is made even more dramatic by the amazing performance of the star player Conrad Veidt. Veidt went through grueling makeup to achieve the full grin that included large prosthetic teeth with hooks that kept his cheeks pulled up. His performance shines right through the makeup, and he gives a truly tear-inducing performance. Some people struggle with silent films because they feel the films tend to be overdramatic, which is true. Without the ability to use one's voice, your emotion has to come out in your performance. Everyone here brings their A game. Cesar Gravina as the fatherly Ursus, Mary Philbin as the doting Dia, and Brandon Hurst as the depraved Barkilphedro all bring amazing performances that cannot be denied. That's why this film gets a 10 out of 10 for some truly excellent acting that'll put a smile on your face. At almost 2 hours in length, this film definitely has a few slow spots. In a silent film, it's often necessary to let the scene play out to convey the entirety of the message. That being said, The Man Who Laughs is never boring. You find yourself hoping for the best and praying that Gwynplaine will be able to have the happy ending that he deserves. There are a few scenes that drag a little bit, so it isn't perfectly paced, but close. That's why it'll get a 7 out of 10 for having good pacing that should keep you grinning. I tend to give a little bit of flexibility to cinematography on silent films, as this is truly the beginning of filmmaking. However, this one was released in 1928, toward the end of the silent film era. The Man Who Laughs doesn't bring anything truly exceptional in the realm of cinematography. There are some great wide shots and some really interesting close-ups, but ultimately it proves unexceptional in this area, with nothing to truly separate it from any other film of the era, especially on a budget of $1 million, which equates to over $16.5 million in today's money. You'd expect a little bit more out of a movie this large. They definitely show off their large sets, but not in an especially creative way. That's why we're smirking out a 5 out of 10 for having average cinematography. Well, it's a silent film, so there isn't much to talk about in the area of soundtrack. There are a few different versions floating around that have different musical scores. The version I own actually has some sound effects included in the backing track. In some cases, it adds a lot to the scene. In other cases, it's distracting. I've seen several versions with different musical scores, and none of them are bad, but I wouldn't say any of them are particularly memorable either. That being said, and keeping its place in history in mind, it'll get a sneering 5 out of 10 for having an average soundtrack. Alongside the acting, this is really where the film shines. Aside from the love story forming between Gwynplaine and Dia, there is an intriguing political drama forming in the background. The 17th century setting also adds some fascinating details. There's hardly a moment when your heart won't break for Gwynplaine, and even though you may not agree with every decision he makes, you'll understand every decision he makes. The villains are the kind that you just love to hate, and you'll love watching how they all get their comeuppance. The ending is enough to make a grown man weep. I know, I did. The story isn't truly a new one, but it's an interesting turn on a Beauty and the Beast tale, except the Beast is truly a lovable person from the onset. Based off the Victor Hugo novel of the same name, it's a true love story that brought a beaming smile to my face for a 9 out of 10 for being very engaging. I have trouble with the rewatchability of movies that show a lot of cruelty. While The Man Who Laughs shows a lot of humanity, there are definitely areas that can be hard to watch. Gwynplaine's pain is very visceral, and if you're remotely empathetic, you'll struggle a bit to watch what he goes through. However, the performances are so good that it definitely makes it worth a rewatch. I'd give a wide grin and a 6 out of 10 for having above average rewatchability. While I personally love this movie, it isn't necessarily the first one I'd reach to. It is a little on the longer side and a bit of an emotional roller coaster. The acting is great, the story's awesome, and this one's a true classic. It also inspired a lot of future filmmakers as well as other genres. For film lovers, it would get a broad smile and a 6 out of 10. This movie is a great watch for lovers of classic cinema and comes in at a 6.86. Making it an above-average film that's leaning toward just being plain good. Thanks everyone for checking out that obscure movie review. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you can be up to date on our latest content. Make sure to check out some of the other content on the channel as well. And if you have any recommendations for obscure movies that we should do a review on, don't hesitate to let us know in the comments below.